This is a Pubcast Shot. I'm John Loomer. This is how click attribution works. Let's go. All right, so on a prior episode, I covered view through attribution. So now let's cover click attribution. So quickly, let's recap what attribution is. So attribution is how Meta gives credit to an ad for a conversion. Now the default attribution is 7-day click and 1-day view. What that means is that conversions will be counted in Ads Manager if the action happens within 7 days of clicking or 1 day of viewing your ad without clicking in that case. Now, there's a lot to understand regarding click attribution. First, it doesn't have to be a straight line. So we often think of people clicking our ad, going to our website, and immediately converting. It often doesn't happen that way, of course, especially for sales. It can take up to 7 days if you use the default attribution setting and you want Ads Manager to give credit to your ad for a conversion. It also doesn't even need to be from the same device, assuming Meta can connect two devices to the same person. So this is where the Pixel, Conversions API, and usage of Meta's family of apps all come into play. Second, you can actually view 28-day click conversions. Before iOS 14, if you've been advertising that long, you may remember this. For the rest of us, you might not even know this was a thing. But the default attribution at that time was 28-day click and 1-day view. So moving it to 7-day click is one of the many reasons conversion tracking suffered post iOS 14 changes. Now, why Meta did this? Probably obvious, likely due to less complete data beyond 7 days once opt-outs became a thing. But 28-day click is still there. But you won't know it's there without doing some digging. So if you use the compare attribution settings feature, you can add a column to your reporting for 28-day click. I found this data to be dependable, so I don't think this is Meta making up results, and it can add more context to the performance of our ads. So for example, I'll use this with my leads campaign, so not even with purchase campaigns, to see how many of my new leads made a purchase within 28 days after completing that lead form. And finally, a little bit of controversy related to click attribution. Click attribution includes all clicks. So, amazingly, I went well over a decade without knowing this. I know, it's hard to admit that. It's a little embarrassing, but I know I'm not the only one. So let's assume someone clicks on your ad, but it's not on the link. It could be to like the ad or provide some other reaction or open an image or a video. I proved this with a test. So I created an ad that only included text and a static image. I had instructions on it for people to click the image and then separately go to a specific URL where the conversion would happen. Again, there was no clickable link in my ad. Not only did Meta count these conversions, but every single one was counted as a click conversion. Now, it makes sense to me that if they convert within a day, the attribution would be given. I've been assuming all along that that would be considered a view-through conversion. Since they clicked, Meta will count all conversions that happen within 7 days. It doesn't matter what they clicked on within the ad. So they may have just clicked the media and didn't go to your website. I find this kind of crazy, honestly, that the window for these types of clicks is 7 days, and you can't separate them from other clicks in your conversion results. So how should you view your click attribution results? Now, obviously, 1-day click is going to be the most accurate measurement of the impact of your ad. It's the easiest to validate. It doesn't mean that you throw out the other attribution windows. Depending on the situation, view-through conversions can be flimsy at best. Now, I also fully support counting 7-day click and even 28-day click conversions. That said, the further you get from 1-day click, the more likely it is that other platforms and other marketing efforts contributed. It could be a Google search, an email you sent, or social media posts that ultimately got them to convert. But the ad, we know, was a part of that journey because they clicked. We know this by now. Assigning value based on the various touch points is virtually impossible and honestly unnecessary. And finally, if one-day click is most valuable, should that be our primary attribution setting in the ad set? So keep in mind that the attribution setting we define in the ad set will impact both how delivery is optimized and how conversions are reported. So here's how I look at it. If you're optimizing for a purchase and you're not focused on remarketing, which is a whole other story, use the default 7-day click and 1-day view. If you're optimizing for any other type of free conversion, like a lead magnet of some kind, use 1-day click. Essentially, this is the way I see it. A purchase, especially higher price purchases, would be a commitment that requires thought and research. You got to Google it. You got to think about it. You got to talk to a business partner or your spouse before you actually perform the action. But if it's any free thing and it's super easy to sign up, view through and 7-day click are unnecessary. So in those cases, optimize for 1-day click. You'll still be able to view results beyond that window, but the algorithm also won't try to pad your numbers with that 1-day view and 7-day click. So that's everything you need to know about click attribution. Make sure to check out my next episode where I'll cover the most confused aspects of meta ads attribution. Meta advertising is a lot to keep up with. And if you go to my website, it can be difficult to figure out where should you start. Well, here's an option. I've assembled more than 50 of my most important blog posts. These are guides, tutorials, how-tos, detailed explanations of how things work that are central to knowledge of meta advertising. They are what I consider my cornerstone tips. So what you can do is you can subscribe to these cornerstone tips. Get a new one delivered to your inbox every Monday. It's a great way to kick off your week. Some of these are newer. Some of them are at least a year old. But you know what? They're still relevant. They're still important. So even if you're subscribed to blog alerts or something else, these cornerstone tips will help you get caught up on a lot of the older stuff that you may have missed. To subscribe to Cornerstone Tips, just go to johnloomer.com/cornerstone. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time, do awesome things. I'm out.